Yes, thanks for having me. So I'm having a double computer setup here because I didn't memorize all the notes that I have, and I cannot see the notes on this screen, so I have my own laptop there, so I'm moving the slides on two machines at once. Please don't mind. But yeah, Jan already talked about Smartly quickly, so yeah, we are quite a big company handling quite a lot of data. I think it's like multiple petabytes per month that we transfer through our systems. And yeah, a lot of ad spend, a lot of brands. It's, at least for me as an engineer, it's really nice environment to work because I get to work with like really, really big data. So I'm Arto. I'm a lead engineer or senior engineer or some engineer. I'm a web developer at Smartly, and I'm building the creative AI tools here, so I'm not part of the design system team. I have contributed just very little on this design system that I'm talking about today, but I'm a heavy user on that. And yeah, I've been doing HTML since 90s, before CSS existed. Then I had to learn CSS at one point, and then all the other stuff that has happened during the past 27 years. So yeah, I'm this old, at least I feel like it. I've seen some stuff. But yeah, about the talk, so I will walk through the problems that we have with the legacy setup, then giving some background, moving to the tailwind and decisions that we made around that, and then to the new design system, all the way to monorepo migration, navigation renewal, and then ending the talk. So quite a lot of topics. I have no idea how long this takes, but should be less than an hour, I promise you. Okay, so I found this printed out manual of Smartly V1 from our office. This is a photo that I took out of it. It is version 1 from 2015. There was no, at least I think there was no design system behind this. But yeah, we have this tall book printed out for every single view, every single option that you can use. And this was built with the server-side rendering before the server-side rendering was cool. So PHP printing out HTML, printing out JavaScript, global variables and whatnot. And this is how the Smartly app looked like about 1.5 years ago. So this is all done with the old design system. And yeah, it was also like, this is the landing page, the home page. It is a bit like engineering oriented. As you can see, there is tables and there is numbers. And it's not that cool as you would expect from a modern service. And then this is approximately how it looks at the moment. So we have refreshed the styles, showing meaningful content, like a snapshot of everything that you have on the homepage, and then providing quick access to the left-hand navigation. So yeah, here I'm going through like the steps that we took to get here, getting rid of the old design system, renewing the navigation, and all of that stuff. So yeah, legacy design system. It was built in 2017. There were around 80 unique components in it, and everything was in a separate repository. So it wasn't in our front-end repository, but like a separate project. And we also had quite a lot of different like micro frontends in their unique repositories as well, and all of those using these components from this another repository. And this caused a lot of mismatches between versions because, well, our design system exports some version of the package, then it's used here and there and there, and all of those are maintaining the version updates by themselves. And it was just a mess. And yeah, in this one we were using style components. It was all custom built. And yeah, then for the style components, so sometimes it required some hacks to get the things working correctly. Let's see, it'll go there. Sorry. So yeah, and then yeah, one thing about this old design system was also that it was super flexible in the way how you can mix and match the components. So you could take a input component and put a tooltip on it, and it didn't really restrict you on any of this. But then on the other hand, the components were super purpose-built, and then sometimes overriding some of these purpose-built components required a lot of hacks as well to do. And I will show you some examples later on. And yeah, here is a bit more views of how this old one looked like. So the purple was super dominant color. There was no like clear indicator of where's the main CTA. It was also, for some reason, even the main CTA, which is a common button, was in different colors in some views. You cannot really see the difference here, but trust me, the buttons are different color. And we have around 90 unique views around the Smartly app, and all of those looks a bit different to each other. And yeah, the pain points for the style components. So there were a lot of duplication, a lot of inconsistency because of the versions, because rogue developers doing something quick and dirty just to get over with. And this, of course, everything caused a lot of refactoring overhead, so it was really hard to change anything because you might be breaking something because some engineer decided that they want to override this style in their system, and then when you go and change the base component, it just broke everything. And yeah, one thing at least personally, what I hate about style components is the naming, because naming in the coding, it's one of the hardest things. And when you need to come up with some nice name for how you call this component with margin on the left and this one with a little bit more margin on the left, and then you have this one with margin on the left and something on top, and yeah.
It just requires like extra margin information, like left margin 5, right margin 10. It will be like more clear.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, we could put, and we actually had a container component with a property of margin left, and then you just put in the number of how much you want margin there. Okay, but yeah, this caused some engineers, like myself, to build some super cool hacks. This is from a styled component. I removed quite a lot of extra stuff from there, but I'm like, this is the proudest, well, one of the proudest moments of my engineering career of writing that first selector. And I really hope that the someone who maintains this table component doesn't change anything in that table's behavior, because this will just explode. So this is doing on a particular cell, doing this vertical line or border, but then dropping out some specific rows from there. So yeah, people like me are the one to blame, but still proud of it. Okay. Then starting to move towards the new UI. So we did some attempts to update the old UI with the new styles. So just try it. Just change the tokens, change some of the styles, and we should be good. Well, no, we weren't. Because of some rogue engineers doing some hazy stuff with the colors, for example, with some borders. This caused things to break, because when we just find and replace everything, but then someone has this very specific use case, it caused us to have blue text on a blue background. And basically, going this path, it would have required us to go through every single instance of every component and updating those one by one, checking that everything works. And even if we have the 90 unique views that I mentioned, those are just the main views. Then we have the models and popovers and whatnot on top of that. So it was just too much to handle. And then what we decided here, what any engineer would do in such scenario: drop everything, start from scratch, build everything perfectly, and don't do the same mistakes that you did last time, and be happy. And yeah, so don't fall in the same pitfalls as we did last time. And yeah, we also we weren't afraid of breaking the APIs here or breaking the contract between the components. So we were just building everything from scratch again and requiring everyone to update and adjust for those. Okay, a little bit about the background. So at Smartly, we have around 250 engineers. Of course, not everyone working on the front-end code, but I would say maybe 100, 150, if I have to guess. And in our mono repository in the front-end, I checked today that we have 141 packages. Still a year ago, there was 90, and 2 years ago, there was only 30 packages. So it's been growing super fast, partly because of this monorepo migration. So we are moving these packages from micro front-ends into this monorepo. And also the legacy of this front-end repository, it goes all the way back to 2015. There is the SCSS and Bower and Angular and all the cool stuff that you can think about from 10 years ago. And then also considering the phase of development. So on weekly basis, I took this number today. So during the past 7 days, we have done 215 production deployments only on the front-end repository. So that's how fast the things are changing in Smartly app. Okay, so then we get to Tailwind and utility-first styling. So at least our assumption is that with the Tailwind and with the radix that we took here, it's much easier for us to control these tokens, much easier to migrate in the future if we want to change something. And also we are not a company who builds a design system. We are a company that builds this advertisement platform. So we have around 10 engineers working on this design system at the moment. They don't, of course, want to be a blocker for anyone. Previously, there were quite a lot, and that's why these hacks and whatnot happened to get rid of this blocker. And yeah, people have solved a lot of things around design systems throughout the years. And we chose Radix because it's quite light layer on top of the native components. It provides the accessibility, like keyboard navigation, and all of that stuff out of the box. There is almost full compatibility between Figma and Storybook. So the dream scenario is that when designer does the design in Figma, we could just export that into React component. And that's where we are heading, but we are not there yet. There is still some differences. And yeah, then in general, like about using Tailwind, it helps us keeping the application a bit smaller, so everything is bundled in a single CSS file. There is no more this duplicates custom style component styles. So we had the 141 unique packages. If every one of those, they have hundreds of files, all of those using custom style components, it would be a lot of like extra CSS that we need to move as part of the JS bundle. Okay, so this, as I said, we broke the contract. The new components are completely different from the previous ones. So the old components were super purpose built, and using those margin left attributes. For example, here is a button which has a file upload attribute. And when you have a file attribute, then it causes the button to behave as a file upload. So when you click on it, it opens the selector. You can tell what kind of extensions user can select and whatnot. And also the icon in the button. So if you want to have the icon inside the button, it's an attribute that you set there. But yeah, so this causes the issue if someone for some reason needs to have the icon on the right-hand side of the text. Then they need to go to overriding these style component styles, like make a new styled button, and then dig the internals of the button and try to do some CSS magic to move the icon around. But yeah, with the new design system, so this is like really semantic. There is just a button. You define the on-click, what happens there. You define the icon if you want to have something. This is just like plain HTML. So you can do whatever you want there. But yeah, this of course required like a full rewrite of all the old components instances that we have in the application. So yeah, of course this wasn't a painful journey. There was a lot of new syntax to learn. Like I've learned Bootstrap already. I've learned style components. I've learned CSS. Now I have to learn again yet another syntax that is almost the same but still a different. And also like in-house at Smartly we have very little experience on how to use the Tailwind. And then on top of this, when we tried to apply this Tailwind, like enable it for the Smartly app, it just broke everything because the styles were leaking here and there. And yeah, in the beginning when this was introduced, so we started the journey last year in January. I think this was rolled to the teams like early January last year, and the idea was that within this spring we will be fully ready with the new design system. But yeah, the tooling was not there. Things didn't really work. It was really hard. You had to learn this new syntax, new way of doing stuff. So there was a lot of pushback from the engineers who were supposed to be using this. And also, like the design system team that we had, it was just building the design system, just building the components, but they weren't really using those components. So then we went to this like a dog fooding, as you could say. So we forced the design system team to actually try to use their own components. And there is like some cool examples. For example, this call out component or like message component, just like a colored box with an icon and a text. And it worked perfectly in the storybook when there was just an icon and a single line of text. But then when you have more than one line of text, it completely went crazy. And yeah, just to get that one done, it required quite a lot of changes to the design system and to the component. So even though we were using out-of-the-box design system, the Radix, we also did some tweaking to some styles, and of course that causes some things to break. And yeah, then there was also the thing that if you are building a view with the new design system, a year ago we still didn't have the full design system, so there were a lot of components missing. And then when you are building, for example, a form, then if you have one old component there that looks completely different from the others, it just, in some cases, it just didn't make any sense to migrate that. So then you were blocked migrating entire view, entire form, just because of single component that was missing. And that was also like, as an engineer, and as we are moving super fast, like I had to discard basically everything that I did, just wait for that one component. Like I could stash the changes, get there later, but then things have probably changed when that one component, the missing component, is finally done, and I get to work again on that UI. But yeah, for the dog fooding, then like after like maybe 6 weeks since we introduced this new design system and required teams to work on it, we actually formed a task force to help teams migrate and like actually start building and using the design system actively. Like that was their main focus. One team just using the design system, migrating the views, helping the teams, and that helped a lot, like finding these pain points, different like missing styles and whatnot. And yeah, like at Smartly, I think we have like quite open culture. We are moving fast, and we are also not afraid of breaking things. So in the end, like I was one of the grumpies. I can confess. I really didn't like Tailwind. I'm now starting to like it, kinda, at least on some degree. But yeah, like people are used for things to break, and we are just trying our best to fix the things and be less on the way. And then, yeah, as I said, when we applied this Tailwind provider or the Tailwind thing on like around the Smartly app, like taking it into use everywhere, it just broke everything. So then we decided to go with this custom provider, a custom wrapper. So whenever you take this new component into use, you need to wrap that individual component with the Tailwind provider wrapper to prevent the styles from leaking from Tailwind to other places of the Smartly app. So there is like a legacy of Angular, there is global styles, there is like even like Angular router, React first router, and then React router in the end. So it's quite complex thing that somehow stays together. And this is one of the ways how we managed it to stay together for this migration. And yeah, preventing breaking changes. And then this is like relatively easy to clean up later. Of course, there's a lot of unnecessary additions and removals for everything, but in the end, like somehow this ended up working pretty nicely. And this is also something that I checked today. We have still 446 instances of imports of this provider in the Smartly app. And I think right now it should work if we would just remove everything. So we could do one bulk change for 446 files, removing this wrapper. Maybe someone is brave enough to do it. But yeah, like basically just wrapping this for each button. Then you might be also think that, okay, this view is now good enough, so I can wrap this view in this provider, so I don't have to wrap the individual button, but just the entire view, and then like moving it higher and higher in the DOM tree to making sure that the things are working. Okay, and yeah, so we have quite a lot to migrate. So for this we used code mods. This is something that the task force was also working on. So because they were forced to migrate everything or almost everything within our app, it just made more sense for them to write the tooling around the migration so they don't have to do the manual labor. So why spend the 5 hours doing something when you can spend 1 week of automating it? I think this helped more. So for this one, we were using the JS code shift by Meta. You can find it from Facebook, GitHub, if you want to check it out. So basically, it just takes the existing components, looks for the margins and whatnot, icons, and then mutates it into this new one. And it also worked like surprisingly well, I would say. Like 90%, 95% was done automatically when I was migrating our package. Some things just completely exploded and then needed to fix those manually. And then on top of the code mods, we were also using the AI prompts. So for example, the container components and the flex boxes and that kind of things. So in the new design system, we don't have a concept of a container. It is just like actual components. So in the new one, if you need to do a container, it is just a div with some tailwind that you want to apply for this. And here is one of the prompts that we have for converting the flexbox. So just telling the Copilot that when you see something like this, then change it into this, and if you see padding space 4, change it to B4. And this is also like surprisingly good, and this was done before cursor existed, and now I can say that cursor is even better with this one, and you don't really have to even provide such a prompt. Not a paid promotion for cursor, but it's really good. Okay, so yeah, we are not there yet with the migration. So this is approximately the usage of the new design system. So the red one is the old components and green one is the new one. Starting from, I didn't get the graph to start all the way from January, so that is like March. So at the 10% point, we had worked on this for like 2 months already, migrating stuff. And now after a year and 2 or 3 months, we are at approximately 53%. This graph is done with the omelette, so we are using that to track the usage of the new design system and like follow the migration, how the things are progressing. And yeah, the most used component from the old design system, it is the containers. So the things that we don't support yet in this new one and probably won't support. So for these teams could use the AI prompts, but it's like not that big of a deal because in the end it is the same component. Like with the button, you are really changing the styles, and with the labels and text boxes, you are really changing the new look and feel. But with the containers, it is just like a div with padding. But yeah, a lot of buttons still to go, a lot of icons, some tooltips, and tens and tens of more, or hundreds and hundreds of more, still requiring the work. Okay, let's go on a quick side quest. This could be entire 2-hour presentation in the whole, but I'm giving it to you in 5 minutes or less. So Angular deprecation, it started in 2017, or then we started to move to React from Angular, and in October 2018 we released a blog post on migrating from Angular to React without a massive rewrite, and that was like everything is almost ready. We were like 50% of the things were migrated already. So we are soon there, we are soon done. This PR, the change in the bottom, it is from 2 weeks ago on Wednesday. We had the last removal of Angular components from Smartly codebase. Yes, we still have the tooling and pipeline and whatnot in place, so there's still like configuration files to be removed, but this removed like the remaining views and remaining code on the Angular. So yeah, still a lot of cleanup to be done, but there is no more Angular, and most of all, no more Angular router as the first router to handle the requests. And yeah, why it took so long? It was mostly about some features that are like soon to be deprecated. Like we are getting rid of this very soon when we build this new backend, and then we migrate all the customers to use it. But for some features, it just required us to maintain those like old backend, old PHP code for a long time, just to support like some particular use cases. But now we are finally we got rid of it. And yeah, so like as we knew that we are getting rid of these, we didn't really want to put an effort on writing these into React. Okay, and then there is the monorepo migration. So we had the micro frontends here and there. The biggest ones being the asset library. So the place where our customers handle their assets, so their images, videos, templates, fonts, audio, whatnot. And then also the creative editor. So we have this like a browser-based image and video template editing tool where our customers can build their creatives. So these were the biggest packages, and on the top of these there were a couple of more that required to be migrated. And so the new design system, it is only in this mono repository, and we are not exporting these components out of it. So that's why we needed to do the migration, because otherwise we just cannot use the new design system in these packages. Yeah, for this one, like the biggest issues were with TypeScript version. Those packages were completely separate, using some different version, maybe outdated version. Some of these front ends were like quite deprecated, I would say, so no one really maintaining it for the past couple of years. So the Jest version was multiple versions behind. ESLint rules were all different, all old version. And then also this router setup that I mentioned for the Angular as well. So we had the Redux first router kicking in first and then going to Angular and then going to React. And all of this caused quite a lot of issues. So for example, for the asset library migration, it took like 1 month of preparation work, like planning how to do the migration, how updating the dependencies, making sure that everything is in line with the monorepo setup. And then on top of that, 1 month of the actual migration. And the dependency updates were just horrible. Like the asset library code base, it also dates back to like 17, 18. And there's some decisions that are maybe not like modern. And then when some type issue happens, then it throws it all the way, making it really, really hard to debug. But how we did this then, like when we started moving the micro frontends into the monorepo, we used the Git subtree functionality. So we added the different repository as a subtree into our monorepo, and then it allowed us to still work on the micro frontend, on the separate package, update that, building that, and then at the same time building the monorepo migration and not needing to like push code around, keeping 2 different versions up to date. And for that, I would say that it also like worked surprisingly well. And now that we did like 5, 6, 7 of these migrations, I think we are now quite good at it. And now we are done with it, and we don't need this knowledge anymore. Until at some point we decide to go back to the micro frontends and then maybe going once again back to monorepo. This has been back and forth. Like the first version was like a monorepo frontend, and then we decided to go micro frontends, and now we are back to the monorepo approach. And yeah, for this one, I'm happy to show some more things like after the session, if anyone have any questions around this, but not going into more details here. Okay, then to the building of the design system. So as you might have seen, there was also Eija mentioned in the calendar invite, but unfortunately, or as a speaker, sorry, but unfortunately she couldn't come. So I'm now presenting as Eija for showing more on the design side of the design system. And so Eija is a product design lead at Smartly, and we are also married. So yeah, just like building a design system with the components, it's not enough. We need to have like consistent product, and the example that you see here is not a consistent product. So I have 6 screenshots around the Smartly app. All of these are doing basically the same thing. So it's listing some entities, allowing you to filter those, order those, and create a new one. And all of these look completely different, are done like in completely different flows. And yeah, we have the 90 views. We have a lot of different ways of doing the same thing over and over again. So how we started this journey was with mapping like every single view that we have within the Smartly, putting those in a spreadsheet, and then listing like what type of a view it is and what kind of content that page has or that view has. And then starting from there, like what is the most common pattern, what kind of things we use. And there's like quite a lot of similarities in each of these. So yeah, around 90 views, all being unique, all being different. And that means that like when the customer is starting to use some tool, like they want to go to create a new feed, they need to learn how to do it. And then when they want to go to campaign creation, they need to learn how to do it. Like just the landing page is different. Buttons are in different places, and it is just not consistent. So yeah, for this one, everyone at Smartly is to blame. So we really have to work as a team here. So we need to actively look for the patterns, how to use things, and also like not fall into that, let's make it custom. It's like, this is a special case, let's make it a custom, let's make it a little bit different from the others. Or that this component doesn't really fit our needs, so let's find some changes to it. But those are the decisions that led us here. Like that's why we have such a, maybe horrible is a too strong word to use here, but inconsistent product. Okay, so we have the components. Then, like I would say that we are there now. Like we have the components, we have the design system ready. Next up is coming up with these patterns, like how this table component should look like. Where is the main CTA? Where are the filters? And then lastly, like thinking about the whole user journeys, like when customer logs into Smartly, what they want to do, where they are going first and what they do after that. So quickly about like difference between the pattern and the component. So here is the button component. It is a button. You can do anything with it. You can add an icon. You can make it to upload a file. You can make it to navigate. You can use it to open a model. But then we have patterns. So for example, the main CTA, it always should have the plus icon. It always should use the wording create something. So right now in the app we have like create new feed or add campaign or create campaign or just campaign. Okay, and as an example maybe for this pattern is like one of the very large scale pattern is the navigation. And this is quite big rewrite, big renewal that we just recently did. So the old Smartly navigation was like this. So there's the home link that you click on the top and it opens this mega menu of all the possible selections that you can do, or like all the navigations. But with the new navigation, so we moved the navigation bar on the left. it expands on hover, and it stays out of the way when you don't need it. For this one, we are using the intercom service as like a support mechanism, and like a support chat, and they provide the product tour functionality. So when we rolled out this change to the customer, it was quite easy to enable the product tour. So when they first time refreshed Smartly that day, they noticed that, okay, everything changed. So then they got this product tour of showing like what to find, where are the things now. And then another big thing about this new navigation is the focus mode. So when you are working on some individual tool, like when you are working in the editor or when you are creating a new campaign, we really want to save the real estate just for that use. So you don't see the navigation as a main, like bright purple bar on the top, but it gets out of your way. And for this one, we used React Portal from the Radix UI, and it was surprisingly easy to do. So for each view that uses the focus mode, there is like if you had some existing top bar component in your app, or like the sub menu of your application, the focus mode component exported this app header thingy, and when you wrapped your existing application, existing top bar with it, it automatically changes it to this focus mode header. I tried to look at the code base today and like provide you details how it was done, but I couldn't figure it out. And I can maybe show you if some of you are interested of looking it and teaching how it works. But yeah, true magic. And yeah, and then like this was also backwards compatible with the old navigation. So how we did this rollout for this new navigation was that all the Smartly users saw this new navigation and got this new thing a month before it was rolled out for our customers. And that allowed us to test around, like see how it works in this real application. If there's any bugs, we still had time to fix those. But yeah, so if you had the old navigation, this just worked as it was before, and if you had the new navigation, it enabled the focus mode. And yeah, how we are hiding things from our customers is with the feature gates. So it's basically just a if clause. So we have a list of features that the customer have, just a string, and then you can check if that customer have that string or not, and then do ifing based on that. So then we can run like different versions of the code for our users. So as I mentioned, we did like 200 something production updates for the front end during the past week, but like not all of those are of course like visible changes to the customer. Some of those are just like in development features, because at Smartly we don't have a testing environment, or we have a testing environment, but we are just not lucky to have a separate production. So so we just have the production where we test our things. Of course, like every engineer has their own dev box, the like own development environment, but that is just for you to use. But then if you want to have like your manager or your PM to check your changes, you need to push it to production. Okay, nearing the end. No idea how long I've been talking, but yeah, some challenges and lessons learned. This is quite quick one because like everything went better than expected. So as I mentioned in the beginning, we are quite fast-paced, so we are not afraid of breaking things, adjusting things on fly. When something doesn't work, then we try something else. And for the design decisions that we made for like using these Tailwind components, I would say just like time will tell if those decisions were good or not. So maybe like after 2, 3, 4 years, I can give the same talk about design system migration to something else, or then I can give a talk about how everything is now perfect and we have found the holy grail of perfect design system. Thanks. Yep. If anyone have any questions, feel free to ask. That's a really good question. Yeah. So the question was, why don't we have a testing environment? I would say it would slow us down. Like when we do changes, we have pretty good test coverage. Like everyone can be quite certain that the things are working. And if something goes wrong, we have ways of reverting it very fast. I have given a talk about breaking the production. It was in the We Are Developers conference in Berlin a couple of years ago. So when I was still on my trial time at Smartly, I think I was like 3 months, 4 months in, I basically took down the Smartly app for maybe 12 hours, or like slowing down the downsync of the statistics for about 12 hours. And yeah, since that we have learned like how to not do that, how to prevent that from happening. But yeah, it was just like we have ways of showing like or using like a preview version of the front end. So we can, when we start a pull request in GitHub, it will actually deploy it in like next to our production, if you would say so. And then when you just change the address on the application, you can use like different version of the front end while still using like a production backend. So sometimes that can be used for testing, but of course sometimes the backend is not yet compatible with that version of the front end, and that also causes some friction. Yeah, so the question was about like how we now prevent rogue developers from doing hazy stuff and making sure that everything works, and like what were all those also the reasons that led into this. I would say the patterns is really good thing, like what we are now building to make sure that everything is consistent, and like that all goes all the way like on the designer's board. So when designer is doing a design, they can just pick a pattern, remove the things from it that he doesn't need, and they don't need to add anything into it. So the pattern should contain all the cases already. But yeah, the rogue thing, it's still an issue, I would say, especially since like the components that we have are like in the beginning, in like a year ago, those didn't yet support all the use cases that we needed. So we ended up building legacy while deprecating old legacy. And now we are in tech debt in that one already, at least partially. Yeah, so the question was about why we decided to change the Tailwind from style components. Well, the old components, they at least were like too much like utility, or like not utility, but like purpose driven. So it was really, really strict on one purpose. Of course, you can do that differently with the style components as well. But then there is for example, the accessibility things that the Radix provided out of the box. So it was just like we got the keyboard navigation and whatnot out of the box with that. And of course, for that one as well, like style components probably have some libraries that are doing that. But then that would have as well required us to change to some different framework or to some different configuration. Yeah, good question. So how we managed to...
Maybe tips how to...
Yeah. Yeah, so how we convinced product managers to give that much time for everything. I think like this entire thing, it came from really, really high up. So it was like from C-level decision that we are now doing this. So every team had it in their roadmap. Of course, like as I mentioned in the beginning, there was a lot of pushback from engineers, from whatever, and also like, yeah, product managers, they had already filled in the quarter, like the first quarter of the year, so they didn't really have time to work on it or put an effort into it. And that's why like the task force that then helped these teams to migrate it. It helped a lot. But yeah, otherwise, at least like in my team, we are quite like independent in our work. So Jenna said that we have all the engineers in Helsinki and in Berlin, but my team is a special case because I'm actually the only engineer working the front end in our team in Europe, and the rest of the people are in San Francisco. So basically when we start a new sprint, I get to decide quite much like what I need to build on, and I can just tell my manager that, hey, these are important things that I need to fix, and I can just put those in the board. But yeah, every team is like quite autonomous, like how they want to make their things happen. So the question was about testing. So what kind of testing you mean? Component testing. So we have a unit tests. Then on the storybook, I think we have like visual regression tests on that one. And then we also have like acceptance tests that are written in Playwright. So it is testing the entire workflow. And that is running on basically like every single pull request that you do. Yeah, good question. So like this Smartly application, where it runs, does it run on mobile? Right now it is a web app. So you go to app.smartly.io. If you go there, you just see the login screen. But that is like where you use it. It's fully browser-based application. We have some plans I think the design investigation is ongoing, like how we can support mobile users. But then like when you are working with product feeds of like tens of thousands of products, or when you are setting up a campaign on Meta or any other platform, and there's like tons of different selections that you need to do, or then working on the template editor, like building your advertisement creatives, it just doesn't make any sense to use that on mobile. So for those, like we probably have like super narrowed down version of the Smartly app, so that you can like see the most important things that you want to see when you use your mobile. Yeah. So the question was about the scalability and how we ensure that we don't fall in the same pitfalls. I would say like this is very, very utility first. The components that we have are much like lower level. Is that the correct way around? So it's like quite yeah, less abstract, the component. So it's like it's quite pure HTML in the end. So that's at least the one way. Yeah. So did we consider web components? Is there anyone from from the design system team here? No. Okay. I have no idea. Probably not. Yes. Yeah. So downsides for or challenges with the monorepo approach and 140 something packages and the CI. Are you working with?
Yes, I'm from the developer tooling team. So basically the point that, okay, I'm not very familiar with the front-end CI because it's more like defined by front-end developers. But I think some of the tests or some of the steps will get cancelled if you push another commit. And also when you do like a deployment, because we have like separate deployment tools than using GitHub Actions, I think there will be a queue for deploying, and it will always like deploying the latest commit. So let's say if you merge a commit, the next commit get merged before the previous commit's master build is finished. The deployment tool will only try to deploy the latest commit.
Cancels the previous.
Yeah, I think it will just skip the previous one.
Yeah. Yeah, and then like
there are some caching as well. If that's also related.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then like from developer experience point of view, cursor is struggling if you open the entire workspace.
Yeah.
So I usually just open our own package that we have. And then, for example, when I'm developing something, I can run it in a watch mode, but I just run this one package in the watch mode. And then if I change something or need to change something in some other package, I do the change there and then run the build manually, like once for that package.
So our application has changed like drastically, the front page. How do you actually roll out this change? Do you actually just roll out at once and tell the customer in advance that we're gonna change the UI significantly, or you do it like more gradually?
That depends quite a lot. Like the navigation renewal, it was the biggest one, and for that one we used the product tour to like introduce this new functionality for the customer. But otherwise, I think we are just shipping things. Like for AI tools, I ship this new toggle for enabling like automatic approvals. So in the AI, when you run, for example, background removal on your product catalog, we required customers to manually accept every single generation, like going through each of the items manually. That is like just to take responsibility away, because AI is not perfect. It sometimes removes too much or too little. So for that one, we then like some customers really were sure that the generations are good. So then we provided this like a new toggle for them to be able to automatically approve anything that comes here. And that was just like I implemented that feature first on the back end, making it backwards compatible with the current front end, and then doing the front end change and merging that in. And now customers have this new toggle and they will find it when they go to do the new generation. Yeah, for changing the front page, yes, it was done at once in one go. And for that one, there was some drawback from some customers, like there was some data that they really needed from the existing one. And then we just built like own widgets or like provided that same data that they needed for the new front page as well. Yeah, so do we have a change log or like some place where customers can see the changes? I think we do. That is the product manager's area to keep up to date. So we have, like whenever we are rolling in something bigger, like we are not doing an update for every single feature, but when there's something a little bit bigger coming, we write the change log, and it is published somewhere. I think it is, I'm quite certain it is available for our customers as well to see. I don't really use it, I don't really maintain it myself. Yeah, so is the TS compiler struggling with the monorepo? Yes, if you open the entire monorepo at one go. So that is why like I just work on the single package. And I have quite hefty MacBook M2 there, but still like it is not enough. All good. Yep, thanks.